We're going to talk transfers now and promised Newcastle fans a bit of news on the striker front. Joining us now, Chief Football Correspondent Alex Crook. Hi, Crookie.
How are we, boys? We good?
Not too bad, thank you. This is Benjamin Sesko, isn't it? And Newcastle looks like they're probably just in front of Manchester United, but they'll find out in the next 48 hours.
Yeah, certainly. I think that's the ambition of Newcastle. This is turning into a bit of a saga, soap opera, call it what you will. We know Newcastle really keen to strengthen their forward line. They missed out on João Pedro. They're still in talks with Brentford over Johan Wissa. That one could well happen between now and September the 1st. But in terms of a potential replacement for Alexander Isak, if indeed he does leave the club, then Šeško is the man they want. We reported on Saturday morning that a bid worth £70 million to include the add-ons had gone in. Now, that wasn't accepted. I think the two clubs have been thrashing out the finer details over the course of the weekend. All the while, there was a fear from Newcastle that Manchester United could yet come in and hijack the deal. That remains the case. And what I think Newcastle are keen to avoid is this dragging on for days and weeks and ultimately missing out. So I think they want an answer from Šeško in the next couple of days, next 48 hours, as to whether he's willing to join Newcastle or if indeed Manchester United is his preferred destination. If they do get the Šeško deal over the line, I think their willingness to sell Alexander Isak to Liverpool may well increase. And I think then we would see a new bid from Liverpool, having had their own offer rejected on Friday when I was on air with Perry Groves.
Crookie, you know the way that it works. Like, Šeško's people will go to Manchester United, won't they, and say how serious are about taking our client.
Yeah.
Then if it comes down to both clubs, Crookie, can Newcastle afford to offer him the same package that Manchester United probably could?
I'd imagine that Manchester United can go higher in terms of wages. That's what happened with Brian and Bumo earlier in the summer. But it's a fascinating way, if you look at the difference the two clubs are approaching this deal. I think what Newcastle wanted to do was make sure they had an agreement now down with RB Leipzig, and then they would sort out the finer details with Šeško. I think Manchester United want the nod from Šeško that he is willing to move to Old Trafford before they then slap in a bid to Leipzig. So I think it's going to be interesting to see which of those two approaches are successful. Of course, we can't completely rule out the possibility that Šeško stays at Leipzig for another season, although that does appear unlikely.
Now, David Moyes said Everton would be looking to be a bit busier in the window, and there's movement today. Kieran Dewsbury-Hall from Chelsea looks like it's done. They've had another bid, I saw you tweeting earlier on, for Tyler Dibbling rejected. Do you expect them... Let's start with Dewsbury-Hall, and then we'll go on to whether you think they'll come back for Dibbling.
Yeah, Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, I think, as you say, is edging closer to an agreement. The final fee, I think, will be in the regions of £30 million to include the add-ons. I think that will actually be a profit on what Chelsea paid Leicester for Dewsbury-Hall, which is incredible, really, when you think he didn't play a lot of football last season, certainly not in the Premier League. And again, I guess if you're part of the Chelsea hierarchy, you would say this is our business model working. We sign players, we sell on potential, and then we generate a profit and it helps down the right side of PSR. I think he'd be a good pickup for Everton, Dewsbury-Hall. I think he's a decent player, probably just not quite Chelsea level. And in terms of Tyler Dibbling, a very talented teenager who Southampton want big money for. I reported last week they value him in excess of £40 million. I think the latest offer that Everton have made is a guaranteed 35 plus add-ons, but Southampton still holding out for a little more, but maybe this one will get done. And then what does that mean for Jack Grealish? Because, of course, Everton, one of the clubs who are keen to take him on loan from Manchester City, but I always felt the wages there could be an issue.
Not a lot happened at West Ham, Crookie, but looks like they could be in a new goalkeeper.
Yeah, I think it's become a priority position for West Ham. They weren't convinced by Alphonse Areola last season. They let Fabianski go, obviously in the veteran stage of his career, on a free transfer this summer. They looked at Mads Hermansen at Leicester. Indeed, talks have been held between the two clubs, but I think Leicester want £25 million, which maybe is a bit rich for West Ham. Looks like John Victor at Botafogo did quite well at the Club World Cup. A 29-year-old Brazilian is the man they're honing in on now. I think he would be available for around about the £10 million mark, and he would go straight in as the club's number one. Areola made a big error over the course of the summer in one of those early games in America against Manchester United. He gave away a penalty about 6 minutes into that tournament, and that probably made up West Ham's mind. They needed a new number one.
It's interesting. One time, Brazilian goalkeepers were a bit of a joke. It was the one position they could never cope with. But now, there's copious great Brazilian keepers all around the world, isn't there?
They knew that the Rush goalkeeper was going to come back in.
Yeah,
exactly.
These are all frustrated outfield players.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think actually I've got a little bit of athleticism, a little bit agile. I'm a bit nuts.
You think about they're always the weak link of the great Brazilian sides, but certainly not anymore. Yes, Darwin Nunez, what's the latest with him?
Looks like interest is ramping up in Darwin Nunez. AC Milan, one of the clubs in Italy who are tracking this one. Al Hilal as well over in Saudi Arabia. He did agree terms with Al Nassr earlier in the window. That deal obviously is not going to happen now, but I think if Al Hilal match those personal terms and they can agree a fee with Liverpool, then Darwin Nunez would be open to that move. What's interesting here is, of course, that Al Hilal, one of the PIF-owned clubs over in Saudi Arabia, the public investment fund, that also own a big stake in Newcastle. So is this PIF inadvertently helping Liverpool raise the money to take away Newcastle's best player in Alexander Isak?
Oh, blimey, okay.
We're taking the PIF literally, aren't
Yeah, they are literally. I mean, that's if you listen on medium wave. Tube Rakpom, this is an interesting tug of war. Tube Rakpom's tug of war. Ipswich are suddenly in the picture, but Birmingham thought they'd got their man, didn't they?
Well, this is a deal that other clubs have tried to hijack not once but twice, because yesterday morning, Birmingham City have shown big ambitions in the market this summer, freshly promoted back to the Championship. They agreed a deal with Ajax to take Akpom on loan with an obligation of a £7 million permanent deal if they go up at the end of the season. Then we heard that Middlesbrough, his former club, were trying to hijack the deal. He turned down a return to the North East. A medical was booked at Birmingham today. That medical hasn't taken place because at the 11th hour, Ipswich Town, who I think are a shoo-in for promotion for the Premier League, I think they're going to romp the Championship. They've come in and it looks like he's going to end up there instead.
Just a quick one on Tottenham before you go, Crookie. They may be now in the market for a sort of number 10 because of what's happened with James Maddison yesterday, and Kulusevski looks like he's a way off. I mean, we chatted about Eze earlier on. We don't know how far down the road Arsenal are with that or whether Tottenham could hijack that. And also, you mentioned Jack Grealish. What about the possibility of Tottenham coming in for him?
Well, Jack Grealish was a topic of conversation at Spurs at the start of the summer. It went quite quiet in that regard. Same for Eberechi Eze. I think when Arsenal came to the table, Tottenham retreated because they feared that they would be hijacked, as you mentioned there, by their North London rivals. The other name I'd keep an eye on when it comes to Spurs, actually, is Harvey Elliott at Liverpool, because I think he's another player that Liverpool are willing to cash in on. Had a brilliant summer leading the under-21s to European Championship glory. He won't be cheap. I think the asking price is about £40 million, maybe north of that, but obviously they were willing to pay £60 million for Morgan Gibbs-White. And he just strikes me, Harvey Elliott, as a very Thomas Frank type signing.
Yeah.
And the wages would probably fit right as well, because he's probably at Liverpool, he's probably on 50, 60 grand a week. He's got something to prove, obviously won the under-21s. And as Crookie said there, he is someone who works hard off the ball.
And he's got something to prove as well.
Exactly, yeah.
He wants to play in the World Cup next year.
Yeah, and was he about 22, 23? So good age. I think he that's a brilliant shout from Crookie. He fits your lot really well.
Interesting.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.